All right. Hi guys, good evening all of you. Today is our first session related to Springboot and microservices. Springboot and microservices is a mandatory course for every Java developer. Whether you are a fresher or whether you are an experienced developer, it's mandatory that you need to learn Spring Boot and microservices. Without having Spring Boot and microservices in your resume, getting the Java interview call is very, very difficult. If you upload your resume in the Naukri, the first thing that they are going to check, this person knows Spring Boot microservices or not. Whether you are fresher, whether you are 1 year experience, whether you are 3 years experience, whether you are 10 years experience in the Java, it doesn't matter. The first and foremost thing that every company is going to check, this person knows Spring Boot or not. So that much demand is there for Spring Boot and microservices. All right. So before going to start this, let's understand what are the prerequisites to learn this Spring Boot and microservices. The prerequisites, first thing you need to know core Java. Without having the knowledge on the core Java, you can't understand this Spring Boot and microservices. The second part is advanced Java. In the advanced Java, mainly JDBC plus servlets knowledge is required. JDBC plus servlets knowledge is required from advanced Java. If you don't know JSP also, that's not a problem. JSP is not mandatory to learn our Spring Boot and microservices. The first prerequisite is core Java. The second prerequisite, advanced Java. In the advanced Java, JDBC plus servlets required. And coming to third one, Oracle. Oracle concepts are required. SQL knowledge is required to understand our Spring Boot and microservices. What is SQL? How to create a table? How to perform operations in the table? How to write the join queries? What is primary key? What is foreign key? That concept is required. And if you have knowledge on Hibernate framework, Hibernate ORM framework, basics of ORM required. Basics of ORM is required. So these are prerequisites to attend our Spring Boot and microservices. Now, coming to course content. So what we are going to learn as part of our Spring Boot and microservices. I have divided this course into multiple parts, guys. The first one, we are going to understand Spring framework. Basically, we are going to learn Spring core module. So to understand the Spring Boot, Spring knowledge is required. Spring Boot is developed on top of the Spring framework. We are going to start our journey with the Spring framework. In the Spring, we are going to learn Spring core module. This is our part 1 in our course. This Spring core module, once it is completed, then we are going to learn Spring JDBC. We are going to learn Spring JDBC. Already we know JDBC, there are 5 steps available to communicate with the database. If you go for Spring JDBC, with one line, we can perform the database operations. So Spring JDBC is advanced to our JDBC technology, right? We are going to learn Spring core module and we are going to learn Spring JDBC. Once it is completed, then we are going to learn Spring Boot. We are going to learn Spring Boot. Directly, I'm not going to start the Spring Boot. First, some fundamental concepts of Spring framework is required to understand the Spring Boot. So once the Spring Boot is started, then we are going to learn Spring Data JPA. This is the most advanced concept to perform database operations in the project development. We are going to learn Spring Data JPA. Once it is completed, then we will go for Spring WebMVC module. It is used to develop web applications by using Spring framework. We already developed web application by using servlet. So based on the servlet, Spring WebMVC module is developed to simplify web application development in the Java. So to develop web applications by using Java, we are going to use that Spring Web MVC module. After Web MVC completed, the most important part, that is RESTful services. We are going to learn RESTful services. How to develop a REST API. Every project is developing based on microservices architecture in the industry. To understand that microservices development, we need to know first how to develop REST API. So we discussed that web applications and distributed applications. These RESTful services we are going to learn to understand distributed applications development. So we can say we are going to learn here Spring REST. We are going to learn Spring REST here. By using that Spring REST, we are going to develop distributed applications. After these RESTful services are completed, then we are going to learn Spring Cloud. There is a concept called Spring Cloud concepts is available, and after Spring Cloud concept is completed, then we will go for microservices. Microservices is the damn important for every Java developer. Every project in the industry is developing based on microservices architecture. To develop the microservices, we need to know Spring Cloud concepts. We need to know RESTful services. We need to learn Web MVC, Data JPA, Springboot, and Spring Core module. Got it? Once microservice completed, then we are going to learn Spring Security. How to secure our applications in the real-time project. How we are going to implement security to perform authentication and authorization. Those concepts we are going to learn by using Spring Security mechanism. So once Spring Security is completed, then the final one that we are going to learn, Springboot integrations. We need to integrate our Springboot application with Apache Kafka. How to integrate our Springboot application with Apache Kafka. How to integrate Springboot application with Redis cache. How to integrate Springboot application with the Docker. How to integrate Springboot application with several technologies will be available, like how to perform unit testing of our application, how to perform logging in our application, how to deploy Springboot application in the cloud platform, how to communicate with Apache Kafka for a distributed streaming message brokering option, and how to improve performance of the application by using Redis cache, how to Dockerize the Springboot application, and how to perform unit testing for Springboot application by using JUnit. All these things we are going to learn as part of this 10th part. So total, our course is divided into 10 modules. Our course is divided into 10 modules. First one is Spring Core module. Second one is Spring JDBC module. Then Spring Boot we are going to learn. Then Spring Data JPA, Spring Web MVC. Rest here we are going to develop web applications by using Spring Web MVC module. And here we are going to develop distributed application by using RESTful services. So Spring REST concept we are going to use. Spring Cloud concepts we are going to learn. Microservices we are going to learn. Spring Security we are going to learn. Springboot integrations we are going to learn. Apache Kafka, Redis cache, Docker, and how to perform unit testing by using JUnit. How to perform logging in our application. All those things we are going to learn. How to implement logging in the Springboot. How to perform logging. All these concepts we are going to learn. This is our course content. I hope you are clear with prerequisites and what we are going to learn as part of our Springboot and microservices. Actually, I need to keep the title Spring Basics. I need to give the title Spring Basics plus Springboot plus microservices. All these things we are going to learn. Right. Online students, are you clear? Are you guys clear with my point? Right. Prerequisites, core Java, advanced Java. In the advanced Java, especially JDBC and servlets are required. Oracle database knowledge is required because we are going to communicate with the database as part of our course. And Hibernate basics of the ORM. If you know what is ORM, how ORM frameworks will work with respect to database communication. That knowledge is required. Then coming to our course content. So we are going to learn core module and Spring JDBC, Spring Boot, Spring Data JPA, Spring Web MVC, RESTful services, Spring Cloud, microservices, security, and boot integrations. So high level I mentioned here. If you want to understand in detail each and every concept what we are going to cover, you can access this link available in our website and you can download course content. All right, guys. I have given the link in the chat box. Here, if you click on download course content, a PDF page will open. What topics we are going to cover, everything I have given here. So Spring Boot, what are the topics we are going to learn from the Spring Boot? Data JPA, what topics we are going to cover? In the Web MVC, what topics we are going to learn? In the RESTful services, what topics we are going to learn? Then microservices, what we are going to learn, and tools, what we are going to learn. Each and everything is documented in our course content. So you can download this course content. Each and everything which is mentioned in the course content, each and every topic which is mentioned in the course content will be covered as part of this course. Now, so once this course is completed with the Spring Boot and microservices, you people are equal to 3 to 4 years experienced candidate. After completion of all these topics, whatever 10 points that I have mentioned. So if you are comfortable with these 10 points, what we mentioned here, you can work with 3 to 4 years of experience Java developer in the project. That much content we have to learn here. So whatever I know in the Spring Boot microservices, everything we are going to cover. So in my experience, from last 6 years, I am working on the Spring Boot. Before that, I worked on the Struts framework. At that time, Struts was famous. Now Struts is completely outdated in the market. Nobody is using Struts framework. Now people are going for Spring framework. In order to work with the Spring framework, you should know all these concepts. And when you go for interview, from each and every concept, they are going to ask the questions. So on the Spring core modules, they will ask the questions. Spring JDBC, some people will ask, some people may not ask. Spring Boot, damn sure questions will come from the Spring Boot. Data JPA, Web MVC, RESTful services, cloud, microservices, security, and integrations. All these concepts are important to attend the interview as well as to work in the project. You should have practical knowledge on each and every concept. So after this course is completed, you are equal to 3 to 4 years experienced developer. Right, fine. So let's get started. Before going to start our actual course, first let's understand that we learned core Java, right? We learned core Java. Core Java comes under which category, guys? Core Java comes under programming language, right? Core Java comes under programming language, Java. Programming language, it is core Java. What we can do by using this core Java? What we can do by using this core Java? By using this core Java contains fundamentals of the language. Language fundamentals will be available. If you go for core Java, language fundamentals will be available. Syntaxes will be available. How to develop a Java program, how to compile the Java program, how to run the Java program, execution flow, control statements, arrays, OOPS concepts, exception handling, file handling, IO streams will be available in the core Java. By using this core Java, we are going to develop only standalone applications. By using core Java, we can develop only standalone applications. What is the meaning of standalone applications? What is the meaning of standalone application? The application which runs only in one computer. If you develop an application by using core Java, that application is called as standalone application. That application can run only in one computer. In every computer, we need to download that application. We need to run that application. It is specific to only one computer. Then next one, coming to technologies. Coming to technologies here, we are learning JDBC technology. What is the purpose of that JDBC technology? JDBC technology is used to communicate with a database, and we have serverless technology. servlets technology is available, JSP technology is also available. So what is the purpose of this JDBC? Yep. JDBC means database communication. Database communication we can do using JDBC. Can I use JDBC to develop a web application? Can I use JDBC to develop a web application? No. JDBC is only used for database communication. Can I develop entire project by using only JDBC? Not possible. JDBC will play one role in the project. If I am developing a project, in that project, if I want to communicate with the database, then we are going to use this JDBC, Java Database Connectivity. By using JDBC, we can develop only database communication logic. Next, we are going for servlets. Servlets for web application development. If you want to develop a web application, then you need to go for servlets. So now we are having JSP also. What is the purpose of JSP? JSP is used for presentation logic. If you want to develop presentation logic, user interface in your application, then we are going to use this JSP. JSP plus servlets plus JDBC will be available to develop one Java web application. To develop a web application, we can go for servlets. Servlets will contain backend logic. JSP will contain front-end logic. JDBC will contain database logic. Database communication logic will be available in the JDBC. Now, as a Java developer, if you want to get the job in the industry as a Java developer, this programming knowledge is required. Programming language is required. We are choosing Java as our programming language. So core Java we have completed already, right? In the core Java, we understood language fundamentals, we understood syntaxes of the Java, and we understood Java concepts like oops, collections, exception handling, multi-threading, IO streams, like that. Several Java concepts we understood. After completion of these programming language concepts, then we understood Java technologies. JDBC, servlets, and JSP comes under Java technologies. So what is this technology? Technology is developed by using this Java, right? This is JDBC developed by using Java, servlets developed by using Java, JSP also developed by using Java. By using these technologies, we can develop web applications. By using these technologies, we can develop web applications, right? For the fresher, this programming knowledge and these technologies are required to get the job in the campus selection. If any company is coming for your campus to take your interview, then programming language plus Java programming language plus Java technologies are sufficient to get the job. But once you come out from your campus to get the job in the industry, these concepts are not sufficient. So programming language plus technologies are there. Along with these things, we need to learn another concept called Java frameworks. Along with the Java language and Java technologies, we need to know another concept called Java frameworks. So for every Java developer, frameworks are mandatory, because in the company, each and every project we are going to develop by using Java frameworks. Are you clear? What are the Java frameworks available? There are several frameworks available in the market. One is Hibernate framework, and the next one Struts framework is available, and next one Spring framework is available in the market. So only programming language and technologies are not sufficient to get the job in the industry, right? If you are going as a fresher or if you are going as an experienced person, along with core Java and advanced Java, these frameworks also required. In these frameworks, Struts framework is outdated. I'm removing that. So Hibernate and Spring. Now for the Spring, the advanced version is there, that is Springboot. So in the 2003, Spring framework came into market, right? From 2014 14 onwards, Spring Boot came into market and it became lot of famous. Nowadays, each and every Java project is developing by using Spring Boot only. Spring Boot is not a separate framework, guys. Spring Boot is just one approach to develop Spring applications only. Spring framework is available. The advanced version for the Spring is Spring Boot. Currently in the market, people are using Spring Boot to develop the applications. Clear? So if you want to become a Java developer, what are the concepts we need to know? The first thing, we need to know programming language. We need to know programming language. So we are choosing Java as our programming language. Along with this programming language, we need to know Java technologies. What are the technologies are available? JDBC, servlets, and JSP. If you don't know JSP, no problem because it is not using in the market. It is out. It is a dead. JSP is there. Next one. Along with these things, we need to go for Java frameworks. Java frameworks. What are the Java frameworks available? Hibernate is ORM framework is available. Hibernate is one of the ORM framework. Hibernate framework is available. Then Spring and Spring Boot. Spring and Spring Boot is available. Spring and Spring Boot are not separate, guys. Inside the Spring Boot is one part. Inside the Spring framework, Spring Boot is one part which is having more demand to develop our applications. So to get the job as a Java developer or to work in the company as a Java developer, you need to know Java frameworks. Sir, tomorrow when we go to the company, we are going to work on a project. So in these three, which one we are going to use to develop a project? Core Java is available, advanced Java is available, frameworks are available. In these three, which one we are going to use to develop the project? Which one we are going to use to develop the project? All. We are going to use all. So most of the work will be on the framework. So when we are using the framework, frameworks will internally uses JDBC and servlets. We are not going to write the JDBC code and servlet code directly. We are going to use framework. We are going to use the Hibernate. Hibernate will internally uses JDBC. We are going to use the Spring. Spring will internally uses servlet. So we are going to work with frameworks to develop our project. When we are using the framework will internally uses advanced Java technologies, JDBC technology, servlet technology, JSP technology internally to develop our application. And core Java. So whatever we are using in the framework, everything is Java language only. Java syntaxes will be available, collections will be available, multi-threading will be available, oops will be available, exception handling will be available, IO streams will be available, Java 8 features, Java 11 features. So all these three things we are going to use as part of project development. When you attend the interview, they will be asking the questions on the Java and they will be asking the questions on Hibernate, Spring and Spring Boot. So these concepts very rare. 1 or 2 questions they may ask from JDBC and servlets. 99% of the questions will be asked from Java plus frameworks only. Are you clear? So 3 things which are important for us to get the job: Java and Java technologies, JDBC, servlets and JSP. Then next one is Hibernate. Next one Spring, and next one Spring Boot. So as part of this course, we are going to learn these concepts. As we discussed already, this is our course content. Right. Now let's try to understand what is Java framework. What is a framework? Why frameworks came into market? What are the advantages of going for the framework? So already Java language is available. When the Java language is available, why Java technologies came into market? When the Java technologies are available, why Java frameworks came into market? What is a framework? Why frameworks are having this much demand? How the frameworks are going to help us in the project development. Are you clear? Good. So we already know that core Java, it is a fundamental. The fundamental concept of the Java will be available in this core Java. By using this core Java, we can develop only standalone applications, right? Core Java to develop standalone applications, Then after, we have JDBC to develop persistence logic, and we are having servlets to develop web applications, and JSP to develop presentation logic. JSP is used to develop presentation logic. Perfect. Then after, Hibernate is available, Spring is available. They are called as frameworks. Now, let's try to understand what is a framework and why we need to go for framework. Anybody having idea what is framework? Come on, guys. What is a framework? Any idea? What is a framework? Any idea? Online students, what is a framework? Any idea? Semi-developed software makes development easy. Frameworks used to reduce burden on the developer. Ready-made methods available. Semi-developed software, it contains MVC architecture. Reduce the code. Yeah, people are giving some answers. Good. So what is framework? Guys, let's understand. When we are going to develop a project, project contains several logics. If you want to develop a project, in that project, we need to write several logics, right? So those logics, what are the logics will be available? DB logics will be available. DB logics are required for the project. Business logic will be available in a project. Business logic will be available, and web logic will be available. Web logics will be available, and we will be having some presentation logics also, right? So if you want to develop a project, database communication is required for the project, and business logic is required for the project, and web logics, that means we can say request and response, handling with the request and response, that logic will be available in the project, and presentation logics also will be available in the project, which is called user interface, right? By combining all these things, we are going to develop a project. So we need to communicate with the database. We need to capture the data from the form. We need to do some form validations. We need to store the data into database. We need to retrieve the data from the database. We need to display the data in the UI. Presentation logic will be available. Business logic will be available. Web logic will be available. Database logic will be available. By combining all these things, we are going to develop a project. Now, for every project, database communication is mandatory. Yes or no? Database communication is mandatory. To communicate with the database, what we are going to do, guys? Load the driver. We need to load the driver. We need to get the connection. And we need to create statement, and we need to execute the query. And we need to close the connection. This is common for everybody or not? So in every project, database communication will be available. If you want to communicate with the database, you need to load the driver, you need to get the connection, you need to create the statement, you need to execute the query, you need to close the connection. Here, executing the query it will be different based on the requirement. It will be changed based on requirement. What about the remaining operations? Loading the driver, getting the connection, creating the statement, executing the query, closing the connection. So out of these 5 steps, only 4th step is going to be different. I have my own requirement. I will prepare query according to my requirement. You will prepare the query according to your requirement, right? But the remaining 4 steps are common. If we are using JDBC, every developer should write these 5 steps for common. In every method, we need to load the driver, we need to get the connection, we need to create the statement, we need to execute the query, we need to close the connection. So several places we need to write these logics. That is called boilerplate code. What is that? Boilerplate code. What is the meaning of a boilerplate code? Repeated code. In every program, in every project, developers has to write the same code again and again. I am developing one Java project. You are developing one Java project. He is developing one Java project. I am using JDBC. You are using JDBC. He is also using JDBC. When you are using JDBC, every developer has to write the same code again and again to communicate with the database. So here, everybody has to write above 5 steps in every project. We have to write above 5 steps in every program. We will end up by writing repeated code. By writing repeated code, that repeated code we are going to call as boilerplate code. That repeated code we are going to call as boilerplate code. Now, this is the first problem. When you are using Java technology, JDBC or servlets or JSP, we need to write some repeated code to develop our project. So in my company, 10 Java projects are available. Assume that. In my company, 10 Java projects are available. In 10 Java projects, each project is having 100 database tables. So 100 DAO classes will be available. In every DAO, save method, update method, delete method, retrieve method. 4 methods are common. 100 into 4, 400 methods will be available. In 400 methods, I need to write these 5 lines. 400 into 5. 2000 lines of code I need to write. 2000 lines of code is the same. 2000 lines of code is different. Same code we need to write if you are using JDBC to develop your project. That is one of the biggest problem with the Java technologies. Java technologies are available to develop the project. But if you use that Java technology, you need to write lot of boilerplate code. You need to write repeated code in your project. Now, let's take a second scenario. Business web logic will be available. Web logics will be available. Request will be available and response will be available. When you go for this request and response, the first thing is in every web application, form will be available. We need to develop the form display logic. Form display logic. Second one, form validations will be available. Form validations, whether user is entering the correct data or not. Form validations we need to implement. And capture form data. User submitted the form, then I need to capture my form data. Capture form data. Store the form data into Java object. Store form data in Java object. So this is only my project requirement, or this is universal requirement? Universal requirement. In every project, we need to develop the forms. Web application, nothing but forms will be available. Login form, registration form, search form, forgot password, like that. Several forms we need to develop. When the form is available, users may not enter correct data. We need to perform form validations. Once the form validations are completed, then we need to capture the form data. Once we capture the form data, request.get parameter, we need to store that form data into Java object. That object we need to transfer from one layer to another layer. So like this, in every project, we need to write some common logics. In every project, we need to write some common logics. Project to project, some common logics will be available and some business logics will be available. Now, if you are developing Java project, so database logics are common in every project, and this web logic will be common in every project. Presentation logic will be common in every project. Which will be different? Only your project, my project will have different business. Your project is dealing with e-commerce, online shopping. My project is dealing with the telecom domain. His project is dealing with the banking sector. Some project is dealing with the insurance domain. So projects will have different business. Along with that, some common logics also will be available. Now, instead of we are writing that a common logic in every project, we are going to use framework concept. Java frameworks came into picture to avoid boilerplate code in the project. Are you guys getting my point? Now here, if you are going for JDBC, you need to write 5 lines of code to insert a record in the database. Now if you go for Spring JDBC, these 5 lines of code is not required. Only 1 line of code is required. What about the remaining 4 lines? Spring will provide that. Okay. If you want to insert a record in the database, if you are using JDBC, you need to write 5 lines of code. But when you go for Spring JDBC, these 5 lines of code is not required. Spring is intelligent. Spring already know that to communicate with the database, driver is required. It has to load the driver, get the connection, create the statement, execute the query, close the connection. Spring already know that. Spring is intelligent. Spring will give you 4 lines of code. You write 1 line of code. So total 5 lines of code will be executed. If you go for JDBC, you should write all the 5 lines of code to communicate with the database. If you go for the Spring, it will give you 4 lines of code. You write 1 line of code. Those 4 lines plus your 1 line, 5 lines of code will execute. Then your record will be inserted in the database. So what the Spring is doing here? It is reducing burden for the developers. It is reducing burden for the developers. Now, when you are developing a web application, you need to develop the form. You need to capture the form data. You need to perform the form validations. You need to store the form data in the Java object. This logic is common for everybody. In every web application, these logics will be available. What Spring people has done is, boss, we understood that every Java programmer writing the same code again and again in every project. Let's do one thing. I will give you my classes. You use my classes. Those classes will take care of the common logic. You no need to capture form data. You no need to perform the form validation. You no need to store the form data into Java object. Everything I will do it. Everything I will do it. Just you take my classes, use my classes in your project so that your work will done by my classes. Are you able to follow me? That is called ready-made software. Framework is a ready-made software. Framework is something like a Maggie. You know Maggie, right? So what is the beauty with the Maggie? Within 5 minutes, within 2 minutes or within 1 minute, our food will be ready. Everything is already prepared and they packed it. You just need to take it, give the final touch and you eat that. Similarly, frameworks also ready-made softwares. If you want to develop a web application, so for your web application development, some common logics will be available, some business logics will be available. You take care of the business logic, framework will take care of the common logic. What is a common logic? So these are common logics: form validation, capturing the form data and storing the form data into Java object. These are the common logics: loading the driver, getting the connection, create the statement, close the connection. Query execution will change from method to method, from project to project. So some common logics will be available, some business logics will be available. Earlier, when people developed projects by using Java technologies, in every project, we have to write each and everything. We need to develop each and everything on our own to develop that project. That increased burden on the developers. We need to develop each and everything. Database logics we need to develop. Business logics we need to develop. Web logic we need to develop. Presentation logic also we need to develop. So I completed one project. Then we got the next project. In the next project also we need to write each and everything again. Second project completed. Third project came. Again we need to write each and everything in every project. That increased burden on the developers. That increased burden on the developers. To reduce burden on the developers, this Java frameworks concept came into picture. So whenever Java came into market, in which year Java came into market? In 1991, Java language came into market with a name called Oak. In 1995, they changed it to Java. So in the same year, these frameworks came into market? No. In the same year, frameworks did not came into the market. People struggled for 10 years in the industry to develop the projects by using these Java technologies. So many projects developed from 1995 to 2000 or 2001, 2002. In the year of 2001 and 2002, people realized, from last 7-8 years, we are developing several projects. In your project, whatever the code you are writing, same code I am writing in my project also. Whatever the code I am writing, that person also writing the same code in their project. She is also writing the same code in her project. So if you take 10 people from 10 projects, everybody saying that I am writing the same code, you are writing the same code, everybody writing the same code in every project. This is a boilerplate code. We need to find a solution to avoid this problem. Why we have to write the same code again and again? Why we need to write the same code again and again? I will write that code. You reuse my code so that your task will complete quickly. Yes or no, guys? I developed my project. My project is having database communication. My project is having forms. My project is having form validations. Everything is already available in my project. You also want to develop the same thing. Why to waste your time again and again? My code is already ready. I will give my code. You just take my code. You develop your logic on top of that, so that your project will be completed quickly. So that's where the Java frameworks came into picture. The main purpose of Java frameworks to reduce burden on the developers, to provide some common logics required for the project, right? So what is a framework? We can say framework is a semi-developed software. Framework is a semi-developed software. Framework is a semi-developed software. What is the meaning of semi-developed software? What is the meaning of semi-developed software, guys? So it provides, frameworks will provide some common logics required for project development. Got it? So can you tell me what is a framework? Come on, guys. What is framework? Framework is a semi-developed software. Why we are going for frameworks? What is the advantage of the framework? Frameworks will provide some common logics required for project development. Can you tell me some examples on the common logics? JDBC code is repeated code, and web application forms development is a repeated code. Such a kind of common logics will be provided by frameworks. Frameworks provides reusable components. Frameworks provides reusable component. So frameworks contain some classes. Frameworks contain some classes. Those classes I can use, you can use, she can use, everybody can use those classes to develop the project. Now, frameworks will reduce burden on the developers. You no need to write each and everything in the project when you are using a framework. Framework will provide you some common logic. You focus on your business logic. Frameworks will reduce burden on the developers. So developers' task will become easy to write the code, because you no need to develop each and everything from scratch. Some code is already available. You use that code. You develop your business logic. Common logic will be provided by the frameworks. Are you clear with my point? Yep. Online people, are you able to understand what is a framework? Ready-made masala. Yes. What is a framework? Framework is a semi-developed software. So why we are going for the frameworks? Frameworks will provide some common logics required for project development. For example, database connections, connection pools, form validations, capturing form data. Such kind of common logic is required for every project. Instead of every developer writing that common logic, we can use the framework. Framework will provide reusable components required for several projects. Frameworks will reduce burden on the developers. So why burden will be reduced on the developers? If you are writing 20 lines of code in the advanced Java to complete a task, same task you can complete by writing 5 lines using framework. Are you guys getting my point? Now, I want to simple, let's take a requirement. Let's take a requirement, capture form data and store in the database table. Capture form data and store into DB table. If I develop this requirement by using JDBC plus servlets, so I will end up by writing 20 lines of code. Got my point? So I want to capture one student form data, name, email, phone number, gender, course. 5 fields are available. I want to capture the data from the form and I want to perform the validations and I want to insert that record into database table. To do that operation by using JDBC and servlets, we are going to write 20 lines of code. Same requirement I can implement by using Spring Framework by writing 5 lines of code. What about the remaining 15 lines? Spring is going to take care of that. So Spring is going to take care of 15 lines of code, capturing the form data, perform the form validation, store the data into Java object, load the driver, get the connection, create the statement, execute the query, close the connection. What are the common lines of code is there? That will provided by Spring Framework. What we need to do? We need to specify which fields are required in the form. That's it. Remaining game will play by Spring Framework, right? So if you are developing a project by using JDBC and servlets to store the form data in the table, if you are writing 20 lines of code by using JDBC and servlet, same task, same requirement, I can complete by writing only 5 lines of code with the help of Spring Framework. I will write the 5 lines. Spring will provide the 15 lines of code for me. Total 20 lines of code is going to execute. You focus on your logic. Common logic will be provided by framework. That's why frameworks are called as ready-made softwares, or we can call semi-developed software. Semi-developed software or ready-made software. Frameworks will provide some common logics required for several projects. So for every Java project, database communication is mandatory, capturing the form data is mandatory, performing the form validation is mandatory. So the common logics required for several projects will be provided by frameworks. These frameworks are going to provide reusable component. What is the meaning of reusable component? Everybody can use that. So Spring is not only for me. Spring is global. Everybody can use the Spring framework. So in the Spring framework, some classes will be available. Framework nothing but set of classes and interfaces. Framework nothing but set of classes and interfaces. Now in the JDBC, we are having several components, right? We are having a driver. We are having driver manager. We are having connection. We are having statement. We are having result set, like that. Instead of we are using all these things, Spring framework provided one class called JDBC template. That's it. If you want to insert a record into table, then you just need to call JDBC template dot execute. Give your query here. That's it. So if you want to insert a record into the table by using JDBC, what you need to do? You need to load the driver. You need to get the connection. You need to create the statement. You need to execute the query. lot of stuff we need to do. 5 to 6 lines of code. If you go for Spring JDBC, you just call JDBC template.execute. So this JDBC template class is a predefined class provided by the Spring framework to communicate with the database. So JDBC template is a predefined class. It provided several methods to perform operations with the database. I'm going to call execute method. Give your query. So driver loading, connection creation, statement creation, query execution, closing the connection, everything will be taken care by this one line of code. So that is the power of the frameworks. Now tell me, in the real time, people will develop a project by using Java technology or by using Java framework? Java framework. Why? Why? We can do more work in the less time. So if you use the framework for the project development, our productivity will improve. Productivity means we can do more work in the less time. Are you clear? Right. So now you guys are learning Hibernate. What are you doing in the Hibernate to insert a record? Configuration, session factory, session, transaction. Nothing is required. If you go for Spring, there is a concept called Hibernate template. There is a concept called Hibernate template class is available. If you want to insert a record into the database by using Hibernate, just we need to call Hibernate template.save, pass your object, kam katham. Your record will be inserted into database table. What about that configuration? What about session factory? What about session, transaction? Everything is already taken care by Hibernate template. Are you guys getting my point? So whatever the 4-5 lines of code you are writing to insert a record, that code can be implemented by using single line of code, single line if you are going for framework. Are you guys getting my point? Right. Sir, then why you explained advanced Java? Directly why you did not explain JDBC template? To understand internals. So tomorrow when I start, simple, directly I can teach you Spring JDBC. My job will be easy. One line of code I will write. JDBC template.execute. I will give the query, run the program, record inserted, clap, task completed. But for you, what you will understand? Everything is abracadabra. Right? You can't understand anything. Now today, when I'm going to explain JDBC template.execute query, record will insert. I will tell that you no need to get the connection. You no need to create the statement. You no need to close the connection. Everything will be taken care by JDBC template. Now you understand how JDBC will work, right? But you no need to write that code. That code is already available in the Spring framework. Spring provided some classes. You use the Spring classes to achieve your requirement. Spring will provide you common logic. You concentrate on your business logic so that you can develop your project quickly by writing less number of lines of code. So if 20 lines are required to complete the task in the advanced Java, same task can be completed by using 5 lines of code in the Spring framework. So that is the power of the framework. Framework is a semi-developed software which will provide some common logics which are required for several projects. Frameworks will reduce burden on the developers. By using frameworks, we can do more work in the less time. Are you clear? Right. So if you want to become a Java developer, what you need to learn now? Java is required, Java technologies are required, and Java frameworks also required. Sir, I am a fresher. If I go to the company as a fresher, I need to work on only core Java or I need to work on the framework. Definitely you need to work on the frameworks only because every project will be developed by using framework. No project will be developed in the industry without using framework. Right. I started my career in the 2013. My first project when I entered in the company, that project also using framework. So 10 years back, we developed a project by using framework. Now, can you imagine if you go as a fresher, do you think that projects will be available without framework in the company? No, impossible. Impossible. Every project will be developed by using framework only. If you want to survive in the company as a developer, you should know how to work with the frameworks. Framework means semi-developed software. Frameworks will provide you some common logics. You need to focus on business logic and we need to complete the task. They will give you few lines of code. You write few lines of code. Framework code, our code will combine, will execute, then our project will be ready. Are you able to follow me? Yep. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Right. Yeah. Online people, you no need to write the notes, guys, because Spring Framework, Spring Boot is a lengthy course. If I am dictating the notes, course will take 1 year. So no running notes. I will be writing the notes for you and I'm going to share that notes after the class is completed. You no need to write the notes from now because for core and advanced, that's okay. But for the frameworks, if you are writing the notes every day, that is going to waste our time. So we'll discuss the subject. I will write the notes parallelly. Once the class is completed, I will share that notes. You no need to write that notes. Okay, good. Yeah. Online people, any questions? Yeah. Yeah, people are asking. First, I will clarify, guys. What is the course duration? What is the class timings? Everything I'm going to clarify. Give me another 5 to 10 minutes. I want to give the conclusion for what is framework, why we need to go for the framework. Good. So can you guys tell me what is a framework? Framework is a semi-developed or ready-made software. Frameworks will provide some common logics required for several projects development. It's not for only one project. They will provide some common logics required for several projects development. Frameworks will provide reusable component. What is the meaning of reusable components? Classes and interfaces. Frameworks will provide some classes and interfaces. Okay, frameworks will reduce burden on the developers, right? So whatever common logics we are writing in the JDBC and servlet, that logic is not required by using frameworks. Why we don't need to write that logics? Framework is going to provide all the logics for us. Now here in Java community, we are having two types of frameworks. We are having two types of frameworks. One is ORM framework and second one is web frameworks. What are the two types of frameworks available, guys? First one is ORM frameworks and the second one is web framework. For the ORM framework, the example is Hibernate. Web frameworks, the example is Struts, not Spring. The example is the Struts. So Hibernate comes under ORM framework, Struts comes under web framework. Spring is also a framework. Spring is called as application development framework. Spring is called as application development framework because by using Spring, you can develop the web logic. By using Spring, we can develop ORM logic also. Whatever you can do by using Hibernate, whatever you can do by using Struts, both the things can be done by using the Spring. Spring is very powerful and very famous framework that is available in the market. That's why Spring is called as application development framework. Good. So people are asking about course details. Guys, I already told you what are the prerequisites to attend these classes. Core Java is prerequisite. If anybody don't know Core Java, it's better to leave because you are not going to understand anything. Core Java is required. Knowledge on the JDBC and servlets. At least if you know how to develop first JDBC program, first servlet program, that is sufficient. Oracle queries are required. Hibernate basics are required. These are the prerequisites to attend our course. If you don't know Core, Advanced and Oracle, please drop you are not eligible to attend this course, right? Course content, as I told you, we are going to cover 10 parts in this course. Spring Core module, Spring JDBC, Spring Boot, Data JPA, Web MVC, RESTful services, cloud, microservices, security, and some integrations we are going to learn. And coming to the course details, today is the first session, guys. We are understanding what is a framework. Today is our first session. Course details, as I mentioned, the course name, Spring Boot, Spring Core plus Boot plus microservices. Spring Core plus Spring Boot plus microservices. So in our institute, we are calling this as SBMS, Spring Boot and microservices. Okay. So for this course, our code is 29 SBMS. This is our 29th Spring Boot microservices batch in Ashok IT. Our course code is 29 SBMS. Now, course duration, 3 months it is going to take. Course duration minimum 2.5 months. Daily I am going to take 2 hours of time. 2.5 to 3 months of time it is going to take for this Spring Boot and microservices. Course duration, start date. Today is the first session. No more demo classes. From tomorrow we are going to start our Spring introduction. No more demo. Directly main classes are going to start from tomorrow. Start date is the today. Now, class timings daily 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. classes will be available. 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. IST classes will be available daily. Course 2.5 months to 3 months. Anybody who is going to attend only the Spring Boot and microservices, the course fees is 8,000 rupees. Course is 8,000 INR. Live classes will be available. If you want backup videos, 2,000 extra, 10,000. 2,000 INR per videos. Right. So the course fee is 8,000 rupees. You can attend the live classes. Every day, live class will be available for 2 hours. After the class is completed, I'm going to share the class notes also in our website. Right. So if you want the backup videos, then you are going to get the 2,000. For full stack people, this fees is not applicable. You already taken the package. This course is already part of your package. Anybody who want to attend only Spring Boot and microservices, the course fees is 8,000 only for live classes, and the backup videos are for 2,000 rupees. That backup video is also available for 6 months access, not lifetime. 6 months access will be available for the backup videos. Good. Fine. Any other information? Course content you can download from the website, guys. I have already given the link in the chat box. So here, if you visit our website, online training, here you can see Spring Boot microservices. When you click on the link, download course content button is available. When you click on this button, a PDF is opening. If you click on the download, that course content file will be downloaded. Whatever is mentioned in the course content document, everything will be covered as part of this course. All the concepts will be covered. Good. Link will be available. You can copy. Yeah. How much we need to pay for the lifetime? Lifetime we are not offering, guys. We don't provide the lifetime access. Good. Is it mandatory you have the knowledge on the Hibernate? Basic Hibernate knowledge is required. You can learn that basic Hibernate concepts, guys. Why Hibernate demand in market when the Spring is available? You will understand when I explain the Spring architecture, why Hibernate is having the demand. So Hibernate will be used in the Spring framework as it is Spring ORM. After completion of this project, can we develop our own project? Yes, you can do it. Will you cover the tools? Some tools will be covered, not all the tools. What are the tools I'm going to cover, which is already mentioned in the course content document? Some tools will be covered as part of this course. What are the tools I'm going to cover as part of the course, which are already mentioned in the document? You can see that, guys. You can see that in the document. Classes will be available every day. Monday to Saturday classes will be available. It is a regular batch. Monday to Saturday classes will be available. Daily class timing 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. IST. Is there any software that we need to download? Softwares, which softwares we need to download? Those things will be covered as part of the classes. Class notes I will share in our website. So in our website, if you log in, you will see the student dashboard. Once your enrollment is completed, you will get the access for the dashboard to get the class notes. Can you explain the Sonar Cube? Sure. Sonar Cube also I will explain for the code review. Yeah. Classes will be available every day. Correct. I had registered for real-time project. Should I register for Springboot? Real-time project is separate course. Springboot is separate course. Both are two different courses. Design patterns is a separate course. No. People are asking everything in the Springboot. Huh? Right. Good. Course name, Spring Core plus Spring Boot plus microservices. We will call it as SBMS. Our course code is 29 SBMS. Duration 2.5 months to 3 months of time it is going to take. Today is the first session. So from tomorrow, regular classes are going to happen. Today we understood what is framework. Tomorrow we will understand what is a Spring, what is the architecture of the Spring, why Spring is more famous in the market, what are the reasons behind that. So daily classes will be available at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Saturday. This is the fee structure. Course content, if you want to see clearly, this is the link. From here, you can download the course content. What topics I'm going to cover, what tools I'm going to cover, everything is available in the course content document. Right. Parallelly, you can attend Java real-time project also. Real-time project is going to start from 15th March at 9 a.m. IST. Right? Yeah. So, real-time project fee is also same 8,000, sir. Yeah. Next Spring batch, when you are going to start, this time not available. My next batch will start after 2 months. Can we get the recording? If you go for backup video plan, 10,000 rupees plan, then only you will get the video. Otherwise, you will not get the video. For 8,000, you will attend only live classes. Class notes will be available for you. So if you miss the session, you need to see the class notes and you need to cover that. Video cannot be provided. If you want to get the everyday class video, 2,000 rupees extra for that. Real-time project will start from March 15th. Yep, already date announced. It will start from March 15th. 9 a.m. IST, Zoom link available. You can register for that. Right. Yep. Any other? Are you going to provide the source code? If you want, I can provide. But everything I will develop in the live class. Every code I will write. Every line of code I will write. I want you to write it on your own. If you want, I can provide the code also, no problem. Okay, good. Any advanced Java batch? No. When we need to pay the money, you can attend 3-4 classes for free of cost. If you like, then you can pay the fees. Otherwise, not required. Okay. You can attend 3-4 classes for free of cost. If you are okay, then you can do the payment. Okay. So from tomorrow, regular classes are going to happen. Yeah, guys. You guys are having any doubts? Are you clear? Good. Then we'll start from tomorrow. So tomorrow we are going to understand what is Spring Framework and Spring Architecture. Thank you, guys.